Week 0's in the books, and it's not the start of college football really until Thursday of week 1. But we had a good sample size. We have close games, offenses are sputtering. We had a blowout. With the few games we had in week 0, nothing is more surprising as Dan Mullen and UNLV struggled versus Idaho State. Let me say this. This game was not supposed to be the best game of week 0. This was not the game it was not supposed to be that game. This is supposed to be an easy win for UNLV. But Dan Mullen does not know how to coach defense. He has that issue in Florida. He had an issue with that in Mississippi State. He's not a good coaching coach. He do not produce players. He don't excel at skills and produce more skills. He's a scheming coach. He's good for the NFL, but the NFL didn't want him. And so he didn't get his way and stopped trying for Florida. But he's a scheming coach. He used the players he got and scheme around them with their skills that already been established and or what they already have in the beginning of their careers in college. And then go based on that instead of improving the players. And that was basically you got versus Idaho State. Bad offense in the first 2 quarters. They were behind. They couldn't even get a first down barely. And their defense, again, very consistent like 2024, but Dan Mullen's going to make it worse, it seemed like. He never had a history of good defenses in Mississippi State nor Florida. They were terrible. They were very inconsistent. They might have 1 good game, 2 good games, but most of the season they allowed over 30. This game was like Samford versus Florida when he coached there. And this is basically Samford versus Florida 2.0. They had to score 52-something points over Samford to win the game because Samford had 30-something points and they were keeping up with Florida. Basically, this is what happened. Idaho State should have won that game. They had 4 turnovers, 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter, but they had a turnover at the 2-yard line. But even with 4 interceptions, they could have won the game. If they didn't have the 4 interceptions, I think that they were driving down the field so fast. They were outscoring UNLV if they had those 4 interceptions back. They would have had 2 or 3 touchdown lead over UNLV. That was embarrassing for Dan Mullen and UNLV. Nothing was going right on offense in the first 2 quarters. Their defense was horrendous. Now, I mean, big proportions. They were terrible. This Dan Mullen team is going to be a good team, but they're going to have so many inconsistencies. I don't see this team being a playoff team for college football playoffs. No way. This is not the best Group of 5 team. They were struggling versus Idaho State. They couldn't get They had way more talented players than Idaho State. They brought it to them. They took it up and down the field against them. UNLV finally did that, and the bright spot about UNLV is they had Jaden Thomas was that bright spot. Their running back is unbelievable. I mean, he was good. He had 3 touchdowns and over 147 yards. That was good. That's the only way they won this game probably. The quarterbacks, both quarterbacks playing dual quarterbacks for UNLV was not working in the first 2 quarters. They were terrible. And they couldn't get over 200 yards. They were struggling in the passing game. They both have 500 yards, but Idaho State has more yards and more first downs than UNLV. How is UNLV going to compete with the schedule they have? And they were a playoff team. They were bound to be a playoff team in 2024, but they lost the Mountain West Conference Championship versus Boise State, so Boise State went ahead and go. And they were also the top Group of 5 team. They were 11-3, UNLV was. But when I look at this schedule, they look like they're going to have a hard time getting to 10 wins. I'd say 8 or 9. And still going to the Mountain West Conference Championship and still lose. They're not the best. They're not going to be the best Group of 5 team. No way. They got UCLA. Miami, Ohio was 9-5. They could pose a problem. Air Force, New Mexico beat Washington State. They have a lot of teams that can cause them an issue. And with their defense inconsistency, it's going to cost them. They're going to cost them a lot of games, I think. It's going to be some tight games or close games they're going to win. They're supposed to win big, but barely squeak out a win. The 2 big games, well, they have a lot of big games. The big games they have an issue with, going to have an issue with this kind of team, with stuttering in the offense in the beginning, and also horrendous defense. And their quarterbacks is not good either. But they have UCLA. Boise State has been a challenge, a thorn with them last year. And Hawaii, maybe. Hawaii might be a good team, a sneaky team. They beat Stanford. They came back and won that game. That was a good game. But they're going to have 2 or 3 losses here. I don't see them being the top group of 5 team. There's no way. There's too many good group of 5 teams. And Boise State is one of them. And they brought in a lot of people back from last year, except for Ashton Genty. But can you imagine what would happen if UNLV lost to Idaho State? Can you imagine that? That would totally derail their playoff hopes. And maybe get taken over by another group of 5 team better than UNLV. Maybe not very better record. Like if they're 10-2 and UNLV is 11-1, but they had that loss to Idaho State, they probably jump them. Who knows? But can you imagine? But it's only week 0, not even week 1 yet. So maybe they change in the course of the year, but they're going to have some issues. And I can see a lot of inconsistencies that's not going to be fixed, especially with Dan Mullen in the first year. Let me know in the comments down below what you think UNLV will finish and who's going to be the best group of 5 team you think they get into the playoffs.